Hey there, my Destiny friends. Welcome back to the channel, and happy Destiny Friday. Now, it's no secret that Destiny is facing headwinds headed into 2024, but there's also a lot to look forward to as well. So today we're joined by two folks from the ARH team, Casero, who's been revitalizing the OP efforts, and lead designer extraordinaire, Echo3. We're going to talk the state of Destiny, and maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to drag a spoiler out of them. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, welcome back Star Wars Destiny folks, and welcome to the Commando cast. Happy Destiny Friday, everyone. I am joined by two folks from the ARH crew. So this is Casey and this is Echo3. So good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, man. Good to be with you.
All right, so maybe someone is finding us who isn't familiar with who you are, so could we just get a quick rundown from each of you on who you are and what your role is within the ARH team? Casey, go ahead. Go first.
Wow.
Sure. So, hey, everyone. I'm Casey. I live in Boston. I'm Casero on Discord. And I joined the ARH admin team back in the fall, having really just been so impressed with what this group of volunteers was doing to keep this game alive over the last several years. And it's been a blast. I've sort of evolved into a role really focused on community engagement and a bit of organized play. So spreading the stories of all the way folks are playing and creating some new ways for folks to engage.
Awesome. And Oli?
My name's Ollie, Echo3 on Discord. I've been an admin for the best part of 2.5 years now. I joined the ARH team during the Unlikely Heroes design process. Rock Control brought me on for that. That was my first exposure to behind the scenes. At the back end of that, I became admin, and I've been set lead on Seeking Answers, Display of Power, and Resurgence. So my role is head of design.
Nice. And one of the men responsible for, or one of the people I should say responsible for the beautiful, beautiful card images, which are, I did not realize until last time we talked that you were doing a large amount of that yourself, but it sounds like you've got a little bit of help on that now.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I'm I help out on production side, so I do all of the art sourcing as well for all of the cards. But this for this upcoming set, Casey has volunteered his time and helped me with the art sourcing, which has been fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah. They look really good.
They do, and spoiler alert, we have a spoiler later, which also looks good. But guess what? You got to watch to see the spoiler, folks. All right. Well, these two gentlemen are joining me today. It's very timely. We are headed about a month away from the Star Wars Unlimited official release. There's quite the bit of buzz around Star Wars Unlimited, which I think highlights some of the headwinds that Star Wars Destiny has been maybe facing, but certainly faces headed into 2024. We've seen collectively tournament attendance has been still there, but down. The set release cadences have certainly slowed down over the last 2 years, which is not necessarily a bad thing, especially when you're considering the people who are putting in the work to make it happen. But we've also got the Unlimited release. So what I wanted to talk to these gentlemen about is kind of the state of Destiny, their LRPs or their SRPs or their range plans, whatever, and then go from there. So I'll just kind of throw it to the room. What are your takes on the comments I just made in terms of the headwinds and kind of the plans for Destiny and where you see that, or I should say ARH Destiny, and where we see that fitting in?
Yeah. Why don't I'll take a first stab and then Ollie join in. So I've been thinking a lot about this, and as some folks that follow the cast know, I had the real privilege back last spring to actually make a trip over to the UK. It was like a birthday present to myself. I found a cheap flight and actually met Ollie and some of the UK guys from Echo Base. And then they returned the favor this fall and sort of came over, and there was this great big in-person event in Montgomery, New York with Silver Sun Games and Jim the Tank and those guys. And so we spent a lot of time talking about, hey, what's the game plan? And one of the things that was really clear to me is we want to keep creating opportunities for folks to engage at different spots along their spectrum. And so we need some ways that are sticky when a new player arrives in Discord or arrives at the website or arrives in Facebook. So we're, sort of chunking away at some things in the website that make those resources really easy. And there's folks like myself who, when someone shows up for the first time in Discord, I'm like, great, let me show you how to play TDS. Let me show you around. Let me do the things. And then we need some ways for folks who've been playing for a while to stay interested and stay engaged. And I think a big part of that is continuing to release amazing sets, which Ollie clearly is driving. We want to find different ways for there to be, kind of cool events. I think the new Dicey Companions, thank you to you and Dean, has been really fun to sort of watch that sort of play out. But, we created this Tuesday night thing where attendance has been really high with sort of America's friendly time zones. This Destiny World Cup thing's pretty cool. It's pulling back top players from the past that have sort of faded out. So folks may recognize names like a Vika or a Hypo. Those guys have signed up for the World Cup this spring, which hopefully keeps this in parallel to a bunch of other things going on. So that's the way we've been thinking about it. How folks respond is, going to tell us the tale.
Mm-hmm.
And with the impending release of Unlimited, which is, it's almost been a swear word within the on our lips for the last year almost.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've always known, we've known for a long time that it's coming. Honestly, I thought that it was announced, say, 6 months ago that it was originally penned for April this year, but obviously that's come forwards. It's releasing on the 8th of March. At the time of recording, there was just a big event over in the States, pre-release tournament over there I saw that was happening. I don't know what the name of the event was, but yes, sure, we've lost a lot of names that will be playing Unlimited, but I think there's still a lot of people that will dip their fingers in Destiny, and with each set release, I'm sure those players will come back. They'll check it out. They'll give their opinions. I'm sure they'll pop into the Discord. But I think as long as the demand is there, we'll still do it. Now, it's been 9-10 months since Resurgence released, so for us, knowing that engagement is lower, we're not stretching ourselves and pushing ourselves and losing sleep over time constraint and getting it out every 5 months. I mean, that's a hell of a task. So with this set, yes, we've slowed down. That obviously that doesn't help engagement. Obviously, you know, people are hot on a new meta for 2 months and then they're like, I'm bored. I'm going to wait until a balance update or the next set. But it's just keeping, as we will continue to produce sets. Well, this is my personal stance. I'll continue to produce and fulfill my role as long as the demand is there. I mean, we know from the analytics on our website how many downloads we're getting of the PDFs of the cards. I mean, and we're still anywhere. And as I said, we're 10 months later, and last month's Resurgence downloads, we had I think it was 93 downloads, and that's 9 months later. Yep. And so there's so many players that we don't know about on the Discord. There's so many kitchen tabletop players out there that are still playing. So as long as that engagement, so basically the behind the scenes engagement that we see, it's worth doing, even though maybe the Discords are a little bit quiet. But there is people out there playing, and as long as they're playing, we'll keep on going.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Well, and I mean, it's a really good point to bring up, right? That if we burn out the team, you have no team. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fair enough. And these sets are, I mean, we have historically seen, I feel comfortable saying this, that the burnout effect is real in terms of the lead designers of these sets. Essentially, once they're not doing it anymore, they kind of fade away to a certain extent, right? Or at least they take a mental break. And a lot of times in these games, when you take a mental break, it's hard to come back, right? So,
yeah, definitely. When you it's like a new toy, isn't it? Like you get a new toy and you're obsessed with it for a few months, and then you put it down and you put it in the cupboard and you're never gonna use it again. But Destiny seems to, for a lot of us, just seems to be ever present for 7 years. But you can have too much of it and burn out. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially when you're doing the work and taking the feedback and so on. But that's a whole nother rat hole. All right, fair enough. So that is interesting on the set. What do you see? Can you just ballpark it for us when a new set releases? What do you typically see for PDF downloads?
Anywhere from like within the first week, I think with Resurgence we hit over 200 in the first week, and then that goes, and it averages. Okay, August I was looking was quite low. It was about 40, 42. Mm-hmm. But we kind of so let's average 70 to 80 downloads a month still, and that was on just Resurgence alone. So people are still coming and downloading.
Right. Yeah, I mean it would track, especially if it's a new person. They're probably downloading at least 3 or 4 sets worth at a time, right? If not all of them. Yeah. So yeah, that's very interesting, actually.
It's all over the world. I mean, so
and
it happens when a community gets smaller, and you see people in the league. The great thing is you get to know each other, and some of us have now had a chance to get to know each other in person at a Gen Con or Silver Sun or whatever. But you look at these downloads, you're like, man, like who are these people in Russia who are playing the game, and how do we get them connected with us? And who are these guys in Southeast Asia? What's that group? So one of my sort of Destiny community dreams is just to find some way to connect those pieces. And not everyone wants to play competitive, and not everyone wants to play online, but there's probably some way to keep stitching together some of those threads. But it's wild, man, when you look at the map of where those are coming from.
Is that part of the motivation behind the idea of the World Cup at all?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I think, and first of all, hat tip to Rebel Trader, who I think had done the initial thinking around this Destiny World Cup concept. Must have been a year and a half, 2 years back. And I sort of took the baton from him and just sort of nudged it forward. I think there's probably a couple things we're trying to do there. One is a team format event is compelling, and I think we'll just engage folks in some different ways. Something that allows for a couple rounds of competition. At least in the States, where we said, hey, we're going to say there's only 3 teams for a country, and so we'll treat the U.S. as 3 different countries with the geographic lines, however they're going to draw. Means there'll be some qualifying, kind of narrowing down the list that'll be sort of happening over the next month or so. But then, it's a chance for folks in Brazil who have been a really important part of a Destiny community for years, and have been less active recently, at least in an ARH league or in Discord. A bunch of those guys are like, oh, we want to rep Brazil. Like, let's go. And so I think at minimum, some of the sort of Poland engagement, the Brazil engagement is partly because it's different and a little bit of that sort of national pride.
Okay. Yeah, no, fair enough. That's very interesting. Yeah. And shout out to our Brazilianos.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, fair enough. So with you mentioned, Casey, earlier, the Tuesday attendance. We've kind of, maybe a quarter ago, maybe a little more than that, there was kind of a restructuring of the approach to the weekly, monthly league, or the weekly tournaments, the monthly league, and so on. We've kind of been doing that a bit on the DC site as well, doing these rolling tournaments instead of the weeklies. How has that been received? And I want to give a shout out as well down to the Echo crew. They still have their tournament structure in not the same way that it used to be, but it still exists as well to be more European compatible. So with the let's call it the OP program, right? What is the state there? How are we seeing attendance? How do you think the program is being successful? Do you see any changes needed? Throw it over to you.
Yeah, it's a good question. We're so it's funny you mentioned the sort of Echo-based weekly, and frankly, that was my model. I sort of joked we're calling the one here on Tuesdays Echo-based West, because what Lando Wonka has done of just creating a consistent place where people know they can show up and get a game. You don't have to register or commit anything big, but you're going to get 4 rounds. You're going to play people with an interesting mix of decks, but real competitive players. It's been great, man. The sort of Tuesdays is absolutely achieving that goal. I think I should have looked before we dialed in, I guess, but we probably have had 20 or so folks over the course of the month. Some of those have been there every time. Others have sort of made one or two. We're experimenting a little bit with timing. So far, the kind of 9:30 East Coast was our sort of prototype in January, and then we're going to try a little earlier, a little later in February. So, folks, you can get the details for that, and obviously in Discord when the next one is. But we've had competitive players. We've had 5 different people win in 5 different weeks. Good mix of decks. So hopefully, creating that regular place is something that will serve some of the same purpose and create the same value that it did for Echo Base in the past.
Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. So, what's going on for the European site as well? What's available to our folks on the other side of the globe?
Well, Lando Wonka. He's still extremely active in running OP. I'll say within England. We haven't gone overseas, but the last few years he's been able to organise at the UK Games Expo, which is our biggest. It's our equivalent of your Gen Con. So he's been able to get ARH Destiny in there, and he's continuing to put on events across the UK every few months. Yes, numbers have been going down, but we're such a relatively small community over here that there's generally a group chat and then a wider post of figuring out an available date for us all to get together and play. But the Thursday nights are still cooking. I think the numbers they're lower at the moment. Again, we're 9 months into a meta, but I think that's going to pick up again. Obviously, with the release of Dicey Commandos, that's brought a lot of people back, and eyes again are back on to Destiny, which is nice. And I think within a fortnight, within a week of shooting this video, maybe we'll have a few more spoilers out, and then people's attention will just start coming back in. You know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
But yeah, Mark's doing a fantastic job with the OP over here. It's fair to acknowledge he's not part of the ARH team. He's taken it on his own shoulders to organise it over here, and he's doing a fantastic job. So, all my appreciation to Mark for what he does.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll double on that. Right, there is no doubt that the UK IRL scene certainly was leading the world overall for a good while. Tank, I think, is giving you all a run for your money up in New York now.
Yeah.
But in terms of large events that were actually consistently firing, you all very clearly were leading the charge for many, many, many years. Probably since coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
Okay, so in terms of, let's say, expansion of OP, let's talk online OP for now, right? I know there's plans for the summer. I'm sure you all are planning on being at Gen Con and also, actually, we've already seen those commitments in a previous article. I'll actually link, I'll go back, find it, and link that here. But in terms of the online, is there a point at which you try to offer multiple time zone things? Is that splitting the field too much? So then, if you only have 16 people, you don't want 7 and 5. And I know the math doesn't work, but you get my point. What's the tactic there? Is it better to have one a week and then rely on the league to tie everyone together, or offering multiple times? What's your strategy there?
Yeah, it's a great question. In a second, Andrew, I'll kind of flip the question a little bit back to you and have you be a persona for us about what would prompt you to spend some of your precious time playing again. But I think, look, there's no other way around the fact to say it was a bummer not to have more people show up for the last Galactic Open. That Ferrex Galactic Open attendance was low. And I think we're used to, in this community, having folks wait until literally the day before to kind of sign up. And you'd sort of shrug your shoulders and say, that's okay. But this time, the wave of a couple dozen people the day before didn't show up. And that was a bummer because, that's an event you put down $15 or something for a heat, but you're getting spot gloss and you're getting tickets. And I think the fact that it was early December as folks head into holiday season definitely played a factor as I checked in with folks like, hey, how come you didn't come? So maybe that's something to pay attention to. But that is designed at multiple different time zones where you should have something for just about everybody. I think we should sort of pay attention there. I think for a release party, there's something beautiful about everyone all exploring and experimenting and janking together. So unlikely that we split that one. But I do think, we'll definitely put our sort of brain power in for that next Galactic Open series, which likely is a May-June period for this new Awaiting Fate set, to figure out like, hey, what would need to be different to have people show? Is it really the $15? Is it, a 6-round event? Is it the prizing isn't compelling, or are folks not interested in really sort of engaging? And I think that'll be really telling. One of the ironies, I think, is the number of folks that will simultaneously say, man, the community feels kind of quiet, at the same time that they start opting out of things. I'm like, that can be a self-fulfilling prophecy in either direction, right? We lean in and the community is thriving and people are totally pumped to play, and it's sticky for new folks. People start leaning back and it's a little less fun, and then more people lean back. So count me in for leaning in.
Yeah. No, I mean, you have a great, I mean, we all know many of you know what's happened to the DC tournaments. We used to do them on Saturdays every week. We'd meet kind of in person. And then just because of the way that lives were, not just for me, but collectively, the tournaments just weren't firing. So we went to this kind of open-ended league-esque more type structure, which I think has been not, we're still playing our December tournament right now, and it's not closed. So that's clearly a management issue on my side, figuring out kind of a new tactic there. So we'll figure out what to do there. I do want to point out that, even in Flesh and Blood right now, we are seeing a dip in actual weekly, like globally, right? We're seeing a dip in actual weekly attendance, but it's correlating to a lot more people playing at home. And we're kind of speculating collectively that this is due to just shifts in the way people are consuming games right now, with wanting to play more at home, wanting to play more with kitchen table type TCGs. And it's interesting that your numbers from the downloads seem to support that kind of in a ancillary way, right? Maybe they're not showing up for Tuesday, but they're still engaging somehow. Do we have any TTS? We can't get any TTS data or anything like that, right? On how many times the thing's open, can we? The app is open?
That's a good question. It's something we can check on. I think I wonder how much that data is available by mod. Like, can you get the ARH Destiny mod data?
Right. But then again, I could throw that off by doing 40 deck techs a day. So yeah, fair enough. But
yeah. I mean, I know, obviously, I joined the Destiny scene later than either of you did. And Andrew, I've heard you talk about on casts, you used to be able to kind of sit down at a computer, search, and you'd find someone who was ready to play. Mm-hmm. And that's clearly much harder now. Right. I think the league, I will put a plug in for the league. There's enough, this is another one of the self-fulfilling prophecies, obviously. There's enough folks in enough time zones where if someone were to sign up, you're going to find your 1 or 2 games a week at a time that works for you. And obviously, the more people that do that, the easier it is for everybody else. That's been a blast because you see a diversity of decks, you get to know some familiar faces. We do this Top Cut thing, and now there's prize tickets available for that. But that, I've been building the local scene in Boston, and I've got a couple of folks from there who are now starting to play, and I'm just watching them become better players and have a lot more fun now that they're getting a chance to play people around the world, which I think is really cool.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ollie, what's your take? Obviously, you're coming from a scene that has been very successfully on both sides, right? But not only online, but also in person. What's your take from kind of the other side of the pond, I suppose, but both physically and metaphorically? What do you think in terms of what will make OP successful?
What will make OP successful? I think the most appealing thing for us over here is location. First of all, before the OP discussion is where is the tournament dictates to where how many players we can get. So the Midlands for us, middle of the country, will always dictate that. And in regards to OP, I mean, I think our OP pricing at the minute is very good. Has been for the last few years. Sarah's done an exceptional job with the spot gloss designs and the LPK kits to try and get locals going. And that's another thing. Of course, we know the order numbers for people ordering LPK kits, and those numbers are pretty good for the card versions of the spot glasses, so to speak. But in the so that's another thing that's keeping the numbers good and keeps our mentality strong, so to speak, to keep wanting to go on with this. But ultimately, OP in the UK, it's slowing down. I know that a lot of the old folks who play Destiny are, yes, they're playing Star Wars Unlimited, but at the same time, I think maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a couple of these Unlimited events, and I'm going to say, look, fellas, ladies, you're missing out on the best era of Destiny ever. You're wasting your time doing this. Come back to Destiny. Surely you've got time to do both. You know, that's how I'll approach it. No, I mean, I don't want to say anything bad about Unlimited. I've played it quite a lot online. I enjoy it, but it's not good enough to take my attention away from Destiny.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, talking about hype and the importance of hype, is this the time to move into our spoiler?
I believe so. This one's all yours. This one, I know this is a very special character for you. So
all right, it is. Well, I actually don't think I can change Windows to view it without screwing up the setup.
Oh,
so if you could kindly read it out to everybody.
Okay, I will read it out. So we have a brand new Bo-Katan Cries. She is ruler of Mandalore. She is a 12/15 yellow hero character with 12 health. Her die is 2 ranged, 2 melee, 2 indirect, 1 focus, 1 resource blank. She is a leader trooper. After you resolve this die showing damage, you may give a character 1 shield. And she has a power action. Remove 1 shield from a card you control to resolve one of your die showing damage, increasing its value by 1. So she comes in with some pretty good stat lines. She's smashable, so Dean will be super happy with that. That's very important. She's got your standard Mandalorian die, 3 different damage sides, and a focus. And her passive, giving a shield on resolution, is quite good. That's a very strong ability. But then you're removing it to boost a die. But the important thing, the important design space I wanted to unlock with Bo-Katan is her power action reads, remove 1 shield from a card you control. So there will be a few supports that have shield tokens on them. We have a few existing that interplay with shield tokens on them. So she can trigger off of anything that has a shield token on it. So it won't just be your characters, so to speak. But the artwork's looking good. I love that shot. Just a quick note on the design space for this upcoming set, Awaiting Fate. It was very much based around The Mandalorian Season 3, Ahsoka, and what's the PlayStation game? I can never remember what it's called. Jedi Survivor? Jedi Survivor. Yeah, I played it, but they're the core themes for this upcoming set. And I think this one's quite... this Bo-Katan, she's quite spicy. She's sits in that 12-15 points range, which is always interesting.
Yeah. Well, I was actually it's thank you for bringing up the themes because the set's been in flight for a while. Ahsoka didn't come out, I think, until like August. So I was curious how much of Ahsoka was going to end up being in this set, because I know it's been in flight since before then. But we've got to get a Shin Hati on the table, right? So,
Man, yes, I will. I will honestly, I loved her. She was fantastic in that. And Balin Skull, they were fantastic characters. And yes, I can confirm that they're most definitely in the upcoming set.
Oh man,
And they're good.
that's a lot of
They're
happy
really
people. All right.
good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm pretty excited about this. The 15 point is very interesting in terms of opening up the pathways. And do remember, folks, when you're out there, remember we're going to trigger a rotation on this as well, which is also exceedingly interesting because that's a very powerful set that will be going by the wayside.
Yeah. I'd like to take the opportunity actually to confirm that what we will be doing an ARH reprint list with this release.
Oh man, you were dropping
So
bombs.
you will. Yeah, man, I got to. It's yeah. Let's just. I know everyone's gonna be saying, "Is Den of Thieves? Is Headstrong? Is Power of the Tribe on that reprint list?" Like,
no, I'm guessing.
no, no. But you know, there's some good classic cards that will be there, and it's not just from Redemption. We're revisiting FA as well, so I can confirm that there will be a big shake-up on the FFG reprint list. We're going to lose probably about 30-40 cards off of that and add about the same FFG, and then there'll be a 50-card ARH reprint list as well.
Wow.
Which is fun.
There's
so
some
really
speculation.
Speculation
on
really
that. I think I've got another video that just wrote itself. There you go. All right. Like it. Well, that's awesome. All right. Well, thanks for coming in and sharing the spoiler. Did we have anything else we wanted to spoil?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Now I know that you're a big fan. You've always been extremely complimentary of our ARH pre-mates. You know, the Bays and Chirrits, the son and the daughter. I've always taken great pride in those. So with Bo-Katan, we've got a new Dinjarin.
Oh yeah.
And he comes in at 12-15 points as well. And I'm going to drop it into our chat. I don't know if you're going to be able, if I don't want it to mess up your.
Yeah, let me get my phone here. Okay.
So I know that you guys, Casey, you'd have seen this one, I'm sure.
Indeed.
Can you see it, Andrew? Do you want to walk through it?
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. So this is Din Djarin, the Mandalorian Peacemaker. 12 health, 12-15, 2 ranged, 2 melee, 1 shield, 1 resource special. He's a character guard. Now, it's always been a tough one. Like, what? Because he's no longer a bounty hunter at this point, is he? He's just a. It was so hard finding the right subtype for him. And I felt like guard was an unutilized subtype throughout the game, and it felt right. After this character gains 1 or more shields, you may exhaust an upgrade on this character to reroll a die. Special. Deal 2 damage to a character, or 3 damage instead if this character has an exhausted upgrade. So the shield play between Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. She resolves a die showing damage. You give Din Djarin a shield. You can exhaust an upgrade on him to reroll a die. Maybe you reroll one of your own dice and you get a matching damage symbol, so to speak. So if you resolve the 2 range on her side, you could reroll her other die with this ability. Maybe she hits the 2 ranged again and then you're off. There's a little bit of sneaky plays with that. You can soft mitigate the opponent, rerolling the opponent. I just wanted to introduce a bit more RNG. And this all kind of came about from the IB94 blaster? You exhaust it, give a character a shield. And that's his weapon, obviously. So that kind of influenced the design for the pairing. I thought, very iconic pairing. It's got to play good. So there's some sneaky plays in there. And hopefully people will enjoy it.
Yeah, that's where my head went. The IB94. Actually, I mean, I went with Bo, but makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. Okay, awesome.
It's yeah, it's an awesome trade-off of whether or not do you want to exhaust your passively to gain a shield after for Bo-Katan's power action. Sorry, ignore me. I was talking of a different spoiler. We'll get to that one. I'll give that one to you for your next video.
So many crazy monkeys flying through his head at this moment.
Sorry. Man, it's been in my head for 10 months, so it's nice to finally express and share, you know?
Awesome. Well, last thing I wanted to ask you both is do we have a final release date for, have we landed on a final release date for the set at this point? I know we were trying to play around Unlimited. So where are we at on that?
So we're currently getting the cards back literally as in from Friday. We're shooting this on a Sunday. Sarah was able to give us back the characters and events from the production reel. So it's still in the checking over them, like are there any errors, are the dice sides right, the text right. So I think we're 2 weeks away from getting final cards back. Spoiler season, I can start giving out spoilers, the ones that are correct in that meantime. But I think without a definitive date, we are on track for a late March release.
Mm-hmm.
And within a fortnight, we'll have that confirmed.
And Unlimited is like the 11th or something, right?
I think it's the 8th.
8th, okay.
It's that.
Yeah.
So we're 2-3 weeks behind that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Which obviously we wanted to avoid it, but it's just how it's all worked out. It's been unavoidable, unfortunately.
No, I mean, I think that's fine. 3 weeks is actually a long time in the internet worlds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think that's enough. I think the original plan was like basically right on top of it, which was obviously a, not great idea. So I think pushing it out just a little bit. Obviously, if we push it out 2 months, we keep facing more of the same problems that we were talking about earlier. So sooner better than later, right? Makes sense. Awesome. All right. Well, any final parting thoughts? Casey, we'll go to you first.
Yeah, honestly, I'll just do a big thanks. Thanks to the folks in this community who are kind of adding energy right now. That's certainly a whole bunch of folks on the sort of admin team, playtest team. We tripled the size of our production group, so Sarah wasn't doing this alone. So thanks to Marcos and Prodrick. And I think, Andrew, you and Dean are in that category too, right? You've given us all something spicy to play with, and it's, it'll be sealed on Tuesday night here in the States. It was sealed in the UK at Echo Base last week. So shout out to the folks that are sort of driving this forward right now and creating energy. And if you're listening to this and you haven't been, check Andrew's links for the link back to ARH Destiny. There's a lot going on right now, and we hope you're part of it this spring.
Sounds good. All right, Ollie. Final words, final shot, or not final words, because we'll have you on here again, but final shot for today.
Just same as Casey, extend my thanks, special thanks to the design and playtest team. We had more people joining the playtest team this time around, so it's been very productive. Bassmaster and GameSlayer joined me on design for this set, so my thanks to them for being involved again. And thank you for everyone who continues to play, and to yourself for putting out content. It's a pleasure. Just thank you. Keep playing, keep rolling dice, and just roll threes.
Just roll or fours, as it may be. Fair enough.
All fours now. Yeah.
No, not a lot of fours. Not a lot of fours. Just roll threes, because usually they're free. All right. Well, that's good. Always good advice. All right. Well, thanks to both of you for try to. So the fun story here is we were supposed to do this yesterday morning at 6 a.m. my time, but I set my alarm for not Saturday. So they were both able to flex their schedules to make this happen on Sunday morning. So I know that you are watching this at home on Friday, but thank you to both of you for making it work within your weekend across the globe, literally. So, all right. Well, thank you both again to everyone. I'll have the link below with kind of the OP announcements plus any other links they want us to throw in. The spoilers are up, and I'm sure it'll be on the Discords in probably 5 minutes from when this is published. But either way, thanks to you both, and say it with me, folks. Go Commando.
Go Commando.
Commando.